What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to the channel. This is Dr. Mo with Expat Health. And today I wanted to talk about a topic that I think is very relevant to us digital nomads. Now, many of you are expats, and so you're in one place, and maybe you're pretty well settled in a particular area, or you're about to head out. You're about to take your trip and go to your new destination. Or you might be someone like myself who generally goes to a new location, for example, for me in Spain, and I settled down there, but it's not my permanent home. And so we call those kind of people digital nomads. Or it might be a place that I'm going to call home for the next 5 years, and it's going to be my base to travel in the Iberian Peninsula, or maybe go to some other parts, other countries or destinations nearby. So how do you find a great physician? How do you find a good clinic? How do you find a good hospital? What are the resources you can turn to? So these are some of the ones that I have curated. These are some of the ones that we discuss with our patients, who are, many of them are travelers, many of them are expats. Now, my actual practice, my clinical practice is called Digital Nomad Health. It's a primary care practice. And the majority of the people are travelers. They're gone. Maybe I saw them once in California, or we connected over the phone in California initially, where I am licensed as a family medicine physician, but now they're all over the place. And so I have to track them down and figure out where they are and help them find local places that they can go to that are good, etc. So let's get started with my list right here. The first place, one of the first places that you can turn to is your consulate. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get very good recommendations, but for somebody who's desperate, or for somebody who is in a new country where things are really difficult to navigate, there isn't very good infrastructure, the consulate of your country, UK, US, Iran, whatever, wherever you're from, that can be a great resource, because they maintain a good list of local places where people can go and expect to get that level of care that you're accustomed to from your country. So a consulate is always a safe place to go. You can call them, you can email them. Usually when you email them, they might send you a big list, and so that's sometimes automated, and that's really nice. If you call them, they can certainly point you in the right direction. I haven't seen a lot of consulates that list it on their website, but you could give that a shot. Facebook groups for any new destination, or if you're an expat, or if you're a digital nomad and you're looking for something similar, if you go to Facebook groups and look for example, I'm traveling in Kassel, Germany right now. Kassel, Kassel, Germany. And there is a Facebook group for expats in Kassel. There is a Reddit group for Kassel. And these are great places to get some recommendations from the locals or from expats who are on the ground, who have been on the ground, and to just ask, like, hey, what's it like? What's the clinic like? What's their quality of care? Do they have good physicians? Do you recommend someone as an orthopedist, a cardiologist, a vascular surgeon? Those are great places to ask these kind of questions. Now, as always, when you ask a question, it's important to understand who's responding to you. You have to learn how to ask good follow-up questions, because the person who's responding to you might be thinking about, like, well, what's good is somebody who's super fast and is going to charge you very little bit of money. But for you, what's important might be somebody who's really thorough, is going to give you a lot of options, has multiple modes of communication with you, right? They can email you, text you, etc. Maybe somebody who's younger, maybe somebody who's a woman, maybe somebody who's a older man who's just has tons of knowledge. So you got to make that clear when you get a recommendation. Another great place is pharmacies. In fact, when I work in Los Angeles, every time I go back and work in LA, sometimes the pharmacists recommend a patient to my practice, and I'm like, how did you find me? Because I'm not listed. And they're like, oh, actually the pharmacist recommended you because you send prescriptions there. And that happens because the pharmacists know which physicians they talk to who are responsive, right? So when a physician sends a prescription to the pharmacy and the pharmacy has to call back to clarify, it depends how good of a communicator that physician is, how nice they are, how kind they are, or what the patients say about that doctor. The patient goes into the pharmacy, oh, I'm here to pick up my cholesterol medicine, my name is Ethel, and oh, Dr. Mo is so sweet and so nice and so patient. And so the pharmacists usually register that, and that's a great place to go, asking for specialists, for podiatrists, for oncologists, for anything. Just ask the pharmacists in your local area, and you're going to get some really good recommendations. Now, if you do go to that clinic, and it's a huge clinic, you find out like, oh my gosh, there's so many people, and the pharmacist recommended that clinic, you can ask the front desk. Sometimes asking the nurse or the front desk, like, hey, who among your doctors is one of the better ones, like really nice one. I'm willing to wait, I'm willing to go see them. Because you can always get that same day appointment with another doctor, especially if you feel like you need to be seen, but maybe for a second opinion, it's nice to be like, that's the really good doctor, and the nurse recommended him, so I can go follow up with them. And finally, this is a little bit more difficult if you're an expat or digital nomad. No, not difficult, but maybe not as straightforward. Hotels, high-end hotels can generally recommend concierge-style physicians, or I don't want to say just concierge, but really good physicians, right? So if you're talking about a Ritz-Carlton or any high-end hotel with a business center and event center, etc., they're accustomed to having their patrons need medical care from time to time, and so they can tell you like, this is a really good hospital, avoid that hospital. This is a really good pharmacy, that's a really good doctor, avoid that doctor. And so that's a good place to ask. Probably better to go in person. If you call on the phone, they might just give you some generic information or say, if you're not a guest here, we can't answer you. But if you go in person and you're just kind of nice about it, they can give you some great information. Now, I always think about this because every time I go to a new place and I think about like, what if there's an emergency? Well, what number do I need to call? So that's always a good one to write down. Which hospital would I go to? That's another bit of information to write down. And who are the good doctors? Like, let's say I'm here for my shoulder, or I go rock climbing and I injure myself. How can I find these people? So this is a great resource. It's helped me quite a lot. It's helped a lot of my patients. And when I do the research for my own patients, for my patient panel, this is usually how I find out who the great doctors are. If you guys have any comments, leave it below. If you have any questions, leave it below. If you have any topics that you'd like me to expand on, I'd be happy to. And thank you for tuning in. Take care.